Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It's Tuesday, October 1st, I believe.
It is. It's October.
Wow.
Time flies when you're watching football.
Yeah, a quarter of the way through the season. Is it me or is this like the fastest sports season on the face?
It is.
It really is. It is Tuesday, October 1st. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon, as always, right across from me. We
What's
just
up?
finished week 4 of the NFL season. Well, not really. Yeah, we finished it. We got a lot to talk about today. Waiver wire ads, streaming options, quick reactions. We're going to start with the news. But before we jump into the news, be sure to do the following. Check out our website at the Fantasy Champions.
Yes.
He's like, yes.
Yes.
Go over and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the FF Champs on Twitter, at the Fantasy Champs on Instagram. Go to facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions and like us on Facebook. Subscribe wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. Let's get into the news. You ready for some news, some injury news?
Yes, sir.
All right, so McLaren did not play this week, was inactive week 4 against the Giants, which we thought was going to be a good game for McLaren.
Right.
You know, like he was fine going into that and going into the week, and then I guess Thursday he had a hamstring injury in practice.
Yep.
Small one, but they didn't want to push it, so I don't know who McLaren is playing this week. But
I can pull that up for you.
he's like,
You know how I be me.
I just want to see if McLaren is like legitimate.
McLaren next week or this week. It's the New England Patriots.
Oh, GG. Okay. Nice try, McLaren. Saquon Barkley is already telling people he plans to beat his 4 to 8 week timeline.
Ooh.
So that's interesting. I would not. He can beat it, but did the Giants let him?
Probably not.
Question.
I mean, if they keep winning.
Yeah, I know. Tyreek Hill, collarbone, said he couldn't return in 2 weeks, which is sooner than most people thought. TJ Hawkinson is going to be avoid being placed on injured reserve after he hurt his shoulder and got a concussion yesterday.
Yeah, it was a very he was down for 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it was. It looked like the Jamal Williams. He didn't move for 10 minutes.
Oh wow!
So to hear that actually is
he's fine. Yeah, I didn't even see what happened.
He did one of those things where he tried to leap over a guy.
Oh, what an idiot!
And yeah, well,
what a clown. There's no estimated timetable for his return. This kind of hurts the Lions a little bit. And T.J. Hawkinson. I told you Noah Fant was going to finish higher.
Wow.
Josh Allen was forced from Buffalo's game against the Patriots with a concussion. He is said to be week to week. I can't remember if it's J.C. Jackson or Jonathan Jones that just went right at Mr. Josh Allen.
He was one of those guys, yeah. That was that looked painful.
Yeah, a little bit. Antonio Callaway and Golden Tate both have now been reinstated from their 4-game suspensions. So we finally get Golden Tate and Antonio Callaway back.
Well, Golden Tate's going to be good, but...
He's like, yeah, in the Browns offense. Antonio Callaway is probably not somebody you should have in your fantasy team. There are going to be people who pick up Antonio Callaway. They're going to they're going to waste all their fob tomorrow morning.
That's we do not recommend that.
Yeah, don't do that. AJ Green expected to be at least until week 6. So keep an eye on that situation. He's out more and more. I feel like this injury just keeps getting prolonged.
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky, the MRI on I don't know if you saw, he fell on his arm weird.
See that, yeah.
But his MRI revealed that he has a dislocated left shoulder and a slight labrum tear.
Oh.
He is expected to return week 7. Not that anybody was worried about it. But Chase Daniels did look good. Chase Daniels, I don't even know. But he looked better.
He looked
than
better than
Trubisky.
Yeah, he did.
Trubisky's just such a garbage can
yeah.
quarterback at this point. I don't know what else to say. Like, you kind of want him to be good, but he's just not.
And I think the Bears took him over Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And Deshaun Watson.
That's No, stop.
And they traded up in the draft to do it.
On Thursday night, yeah, that's terrible. On Thursday Night Football, we had 2 injuries on Thursday Night Football. Don't know why we didn't lead off with this, but Devontae Adams' toe didn't practice on Monday. I would think that the Packers are going to hold Devontae Adams out for 1 week just to be safe. But he does have, between Thursday night and next Sunday, he has 10 days. So he has enough time to recover. Mm-hmm. We'll just see if it'll be all right. They said nothing was serious with the toe injury, and we should be all right. And then Jamal Williams, there's really no news surrounding Jamal Williams. I don't know if you saw the hit on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
It was pretty nasty. He went to the hospital. Apparently, he's in good spirits. He's okay. And he did not practice Monday is what they said. There's really nobody's talking about whether Jamal Williams is going to be back sooner rather than later, or they're going to hold him out time. If it was just a head and neck injury or he's in concussion protocol, I'm surprised he's not
concussed.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a concussion. Like, there's literally no information on this right now. As a previous Aaron Jones owner, I would love to know if he's going to have a full workload
for his
or
personal
not.
safety.
Yeah, not
I just
want to
know how it affects Aaron Jones.
How does this affect Aaron Jones? No. Yeah, it was a nasty hit. I'm glad he's okay. And then I don't know if you saw the hit on. It was an accidental hit. He was actually on the ground longer than Jamal Williams was. But it was Devontae Maddox, the cornerback from the Eagles. Yeah, it was a bad couple injuries. But I would keep an eye on the Jamal Williams situation because if he does play, that will affect the Aaron Jones situation for you.
Correct, yeah.
And that's all we got, unless you have anything else that I didn't mention.
No, I think that's just about it, man.
Let's get into our quick reaction segment of the show.
Corey Davis caught a touchdown this week.
What did I literally stopped and thought he's gonna say something about Corey Davis, and then you said something about Corey Davis.
I just want to see.
Corey Davis did have 91 yards and a touchdown, and we're gonna lead off the show by talking about Corey Davis scoring.
That's all.
That's all I got for week 4. We'll just move straight into our waiver wire segment.
Weird week for quarterbacks, huh? Not a lot of strong QB performances.
No.
Unless you had Jameis Winston, which not a lot of people did or started him.
You know what I noticed?
What'd you notice?
It's starting to happen. At the beginning of the season, everyone was like making fun of the streaming quarterback truthers.
Yep.
And this
it's
week,
real.
It's real. This week, there was at least 10 quarterbacks with 25 points or more, or something like that, around 20 to 25.
And like 3 of them were probably owned in your league, maybe.
Yeah. So, like, I had Dak. You know, like I thought Dak. I almost put him on my starts list.
Dak had a poor week.
Yeah.
Brady had 3 points.
Yeah. Well,
Russell Wilson had 15. Deshaun Watson had 11.
Right.
There was a lot of quarterbacks that did not do great this week.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had Daniel Jones too. Started him, streamed him this week, including myself in some leagues. He only had 13 points.
Yeah.
So there was, and then guys that went off were probably in the waiver wire, like Matt Stafford. So
yeah, I know. What did we tell you guys to do?
We did say get Matt Stafford.
Start Matt Stafford against.
And I did
literally,
say
if there is a
Aaron
quarterback, going against the Kansas City Chiefs, I realize this. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs defense sucking, even though it kind of is, but
it's also the fact that the team is forced to throw the ball.
Forced to throw the ball
40 times.
Yeah, it's like if they're down by 40, they're not going to try to run the football.
Right.
And that's why their run defense is probably.
Even though the Lions were actually in that game the whole time, they were even winning for a lot of it. So
yeah, but they still had to score 30 something.
Right, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Some things I noticed Thursday Night Football. Jordan Howard, after Miles Sanders, he had like 17 touches the week before for 120 yards, but he fumbled twice. He took a back seat to Jordan Howard in this game, 30 plus fantasy points, depending on the format.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot of fantasy points. Yeah. Yeah, do you expect this to be a thing in the future? Okay, yeah, that's what I said. Don't
buy in the Jordan Howard hype.
I was talking to a team who had Jordan Howard, thinking maybe they would think that Jordan Howard was great, so they'd sell their best running back. It didn't work. But yeah, I would not. I wouldn't even start Jordan Howard next week. Like, I don't even know who he's playing. But
I was just gonna pull
knowing how hit or miss he's gonna be.
I wouldn't start him either.
Like, if he does it 2 weeks in a row,
Miami,
then you can start talking about like possible.
He's playing the Jets. at home.
Yeah, that's a good matchup. But
If Darnold doesn't play either, that could be a good game.
they're going to split. I think the Eagles want to go in the direction of utilizing Miles Sanders.
Yes.
And so my thought is that Jordan Howard is going to take a backseat to Miles Sanders at some point. But it's an interesting thing to watch because they really go with the hot hand.
They do.
Philly,
a lot of teams do.
Which is why you probably... I was so surprised. This is the one thing I was completely surprised by, is how many people started Jordan Howard.
It's, you know what it is?
I faced him in 3 different leagues.
I faced him in one league, and I think it's because of the bye weeks. The bye weeks.
Oh, okay. All right. Because
so
I was
people who had Le'Veon Bell, in our league, somebody
Jordan
had
Howard
Bell
being started?
Howard. Yeah,
that
but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
And the Packers wasn't even a great matchup, so.
Right. Chris Godwin.
Your guy.
Is he becoming the number 1 in Tampa?
No, he's not.
Okay.
It's still
I mean, we know Mike Evans is the number 1 wide receiver in the depth chart, but I just mean can he ascend to the point of outscoring Mike Evans this year?
I don't think he's going to do that.
This year he had a 12-point game, a 22-point game. He had that crappy 5-point game, and then he had a 36-point game, or was it 32? I can't remember. Basically scoring the same amount of points that Mike Evans had the week before. But that game, obviously you're not going to score 55 points in a game.
No.
Realistically, their offense scored 48. So there's that. But I think you can see a world where Godwin and Mike Evans both succeed in this offense like they did yesterday. I mean, Godwin's not going to get 30 points.
Right.
But I think someone in that offense is going to get 20 points, and somebody in that offense is going to get 15.
Yeah, I think it's clear that at least Evans and Godwin
open.
are the 2 main focuses in the offense. I mean, Evans, to me, is still the guy.
Where do you rank Chris Godwin? I'm just curious because I know you seem way more down on him than a lot of fantasy analysts.
I think it's just compared to you because you own
every
him,
single. It's not that. I didn't even want to draft him, but I was forced to because
I
he was
wanted
in the
to draft
6th
him.
round.
We were the opposites.
Yeah, I was forced to because we were in the 6th round in our home league. But for you seem like you've been very down on Chris Godwin, and
I'm not. You're just very high on him. You think he's
I'm right around where everyone else thinks he is,
which is
11, 12.
So that's not that. I have him 12, 13.
But I think
that's
people
really,
are moving him up though, and I think that's the thing.
He moved up on my board. I did have him 14.
If he continues to produce the way that he is right now, it's going if he gets another 20-point game this upcoming week, which he does have a decent matchup against New Orleans, and he's not going to face Eli Apple, so he should be fine. But Godwin, if he gets another 20, 25-point game, I think he can shift into that conversation of being a high, not a high-end wide receiver 1, but a mid to low-end wide receiver 1 that could possibly there could be a reality where Mike Evans finishes 7 and Chris Godwin finishes 8. That's real to me.
I mean, that's possible. I don't think that's going to happen.
Just seeing how this is not just I have him on my fantasy team take. This is seeing how they utilize Chris Godwin and comparing it to how Bruce Arians has used wide receivers in the past.
Yeah.
It's very similar to when he was
do you think Jameis Winston is going to be able to throw 300 plus yards every week?
No, he's going to throw 300 yards every week. That's what he did last year. It's a matter of if he throws picks. The problems aren't touchdowns and yards for Jameis Winston. The problem is interceptions for Jameis Winston.
That is true, but touchdowns can still be a problem. Yards, you're right. He's going to throw a ton of yards no matter what. But
I just think at some point people need to yes, John Ross had 42 points in 1 week.
He
But John Ross was a surprise. It was John Ross.
I think John
42 points. Chris Godwin is people expected this guy to step into more targets, more work in that offense because they lost Deshaun Jackson, because they lost Adam Humphries. So it's he was expected to get more work, and he's translating that into good performances.
If the Bengals' offense is better and AJ Green was out the whole year, I think John Ross would actually be in that conversation. But
I don't think so. I disagree.
Well,
last week he had 4 points.
Yeah, but the Bengals offense also the Bengals offense and AJ Green will come back this season. So
yeah,
but anyway, I'll quickly name off receivers I have ranked ahead of Godwin. Stop me If you disagree, Hopkins, Julio, Keenan Allen, Odell, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, Mark Cooper.
See, I would say not Amari Cooper. I would say right now it's 1A and 1B, or what is it? What did you have, Hopkins? I mean,
Wow.
not Hopkins. It's not Hopkins. Where do you have Mike Evans 7?
Yeah.
I think it's 7A and 7B. Like, I think he's right
Really?
after. I think he's after.
So you have him ranked 7?
No, I have him ranked 8. Yeah. Like, I think as of right now,
I would have Cooper Kupp ahead of him.
I wouldn't.
I would have Tyreek Hill when he comes back ahead of him.
I would have Reek Hill ahead of him, yeah, but like until he comes back.
You don't have Cooper Kupp ahead of him?
No.
Cooper Kupp is right now a top 5 fantasy receiver.
But Chris Godwin's number 2.
Is he number 2, really?
Yeah, he's number 2 in all fantasy right now. That's what I'm
telling
telling you. He's like, you're having an epiphany over here. Every week I look at the numbers and I see who the top players are, and I just I was kind of surprised to see Chris Godwin, but it was because of the 32 and 22 point games.
Kupp's number 3, so Kupp's right behind him.
Yep.
But Kupp's more consistent than Godwin too. Like Godwin had the big 35-point game in half PPR. It was 35. And then Kupp has had 27, 22, 15, and 8.
I mean, that's the same. It looks like the same thing that Godwin has done this
year. It's a little bit more because Kupp's gonna get if we're
5 or 8. I mean,
I know we're debating
in half PPR. It's like
I get it, but like to me, like Kupp's floor on a weekly basis is higher because he's gonna get. Kupp is just guaranteed 6.
You also have to consider Mike Evans went off against the New York Giants. Chris Godwin went off against the Los Angeles Rams. Like,
well, that would make sense, but the whole
like
team
32 points. There were people
like and Winston went off against the Rams. The Bucs scored 55 points against the Rams. It's not that
we put a tweet out there asking certain individuals because I've been noticing people on Twitter have been saying they were advised by fantasy analysts and were thinking, okay, Chris Godwin is definitely not a start this week because he's facing Los Angeles Rams. And they got burned because they left 32 points, 35 points on the bench.
Yeah.
So we have to move on. But
I didn't like Godwin this week.
Against the Rams. Did anyone? I started him and gulped.
Yeah.
I was like, I almost thought about starting Terry McLaurin. And the only reason I didn't is because he didn't play. So
good thing.
I might not have done it, but I was nervous about that matchup against the Rams, as would anybody be. But the fact that people were nervous before the game and then he puts up 35 is like, he had a really good game.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is back. He's 22 points. He does have that turf toe injury, but he should be fine. Is this what we can expect from Devontae Adams moving forward?
Yeah. I mean, it's Devontae Adams. We both.
We're waiting for these top 5 wide receivers that we had.
We both said this
in draft rankings to break out.
Last week when we gave you guys trade targets, who's number 1 on both of our lists?
Devontae Adams.
Right. It's Devontae. I mean, as long as Devontae Adams is healthy, he's gonna get points.
It's similar to the Mike Evans thing. A couple weeks ago, Mike Evans had 5 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And then he had a 36-point game, and all of a sudden everyone was like, holy crap. So it's like, but that he was a trade target before that week because he's obviously more talented than what he was playing at. It's the same thing with Adams.
Yeah.
So if you traded for Adams, give yourself a round of applause.
Thank you.
Wayne Gallman was actually relatively decent. He didn't look good on the ground, 3.7 yards a carry. But he had 2 touchdowns. I think he had, I can't remember, I think it was around 100 all-purpose yards. So he was decent. He wasn't bad. I was surprised.
He played the Redskins, and I tried telling you this last week. It was a great matchup for him. He's still going to be a little matchup dependent.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But against good matchups, he's a good start, I think.
Yeah. And then Nick Chubb went bonkers.
Yeah, Nick Chubb.
3 touchdowns, 150 yards.
Ate his way.
Friggin' monster.
Pure beast.
Finally.
People have been waiting for this since they drafted him.
They legitimately have been waiting for this.
Now it gives some fuel to the Chubb-Cook argument.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I mean...
From before Cook's still number 1.
I wonder what Chubb would look like against the Bears.
Yeah.
Friggin' 16. I couldn't believe that. What the Bears and the Eagles have been doing to teams.
It so much.
And then... Yeah, that's true.
But I think Cook also... Yeah, he had 14 carries for 35 yards.
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
So
good.
he got still demolished.
70 all-purpose yards.
But he had 6 receptions for 35 yards. So in standard leagues, he still wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Let's move into our waiver wire addition segment of the show. If you've been waiting for this, we understand.
Yes.
So let's move into our week 5 waiver wire ads. This should get really interesting. We'll give you our QB streamers at the end of the show. But let's just move right into this. We'll start with running backs. Is there any running backs you're targeting in particular? I know we mentioned Ronald Jones last week. He's still only owned in 42% of leagues.
I mean, he needs to get picked up.
Yeah, it's about time.
It's definitely about time. He's might take over as an RB1 on that team. I mean, he still has a ceiling because it's Tampa Bay's offense, but I've liked Ronald Jones all year.
They scored 55 against the Los Angeles Rams, and you're hating.
Hey, let me rephrase that. It's Tampa's running game. He has a ceiling. Is that more fair?
I don't know. He had 120 yards last week.
They're not going to get 50. In normal weeks when they score 20-something points, they don't run the ball a lot.
Like he had in week 1 against San Francisco, he had 93 all-purpose yards on 14 touches. This past week against New York, he had 100.
Are you saying he's an RB1?
I'm sorry. Against the Giants, not this week, but week 3, he had 15 touches for 121 yards, and then this week, I can't remember. I think it was. I gotta pull it up, but he's getting. What I've noticed outside of week 2 when he got like 3 carries. I don't know what they were thinking. They were like, if we're gonna go this Peyton Barber train, we're just gonna roll with it. He had against the Rams 70 yards on 19 carries for a touchdown, which is, not great, but I think he's capped, obviously, by his ineffective pass catching abilities. But if he's a guy that gets 17 to 19 rushes a game and puts up 70 to 100 yards and a touchdown, like, he's going to be good. Like, he hasn't been bad this year. He's averaging 4.7 yards a carry on the season.
He's a good running back. It's just, do you trust Bruce Arians and that coaching staff to use him?
It depends. Like
we all said this after week 1, and then he came in week 2 against the Panthers.
But it's been 2 weeks in a row, though, that he's starting to get more involved in the offense. It's not just like last week, and like it's not like an up and down.
No, I do like Ronald Jones.
Week 2 was the only week that he was like kind of they underutilized.
Yeah,
they didn't even give him
carries.
the ball. But I think the more he produces and the more he has good games, the more that Bruce Arians is going to feel comfortable shifting away from Peyton Barber. But he's going to need to do this for like 2 to 3 more games in order to completely steal the job from him. If he does, what do you think he lands this year?
Well, so here's the thing, though. If he steals the job from Peyton Barber, they're not going to stop using Peyton Barber. Are they?
I would say he would still probably get 7 to 8 carries. Yeah,
right. I mean, exactly. So he still has a ceiling, but I would like him. Like, he could be a potential flex if he completely steals the job.
The way he's producing right now, I mean, he might already be a flex in some leagues. He had 10 full PPR points week 1, 13 in week 3.
Full PPR?
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of the same regardless for him. He's only
in those weeks, though,
he's only had 2 catches on the entire year, so there's that. Right. But he had 14 fantasy points this week.
But in 3 of the 4 weeks, he's had more carries than Peyton Barber, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
So
if he quote unquote steals a job, he's going to get more carries than Peyton Barber, but they're still going to use Peyton Barber. So it's kind of what he's been doing these past few weeks.
When I say steal the job too, I'm talking about like
a good flex, but
and you saw it this Sunday is that what the Buccaneers have been doing is giving the ball to Ronald Jones in the middle of the field. The second they get in the red zone, it goes to Peyton Barber.
Yeah,
they didn't do that this week. So that's what I'm talking about with, like, I don't care if Peyton Barber comes in as a change of pace or gets 7 to 9 carries. I don't care if he does that, as long as Ronald Jones gets 17, 18 carries and scores a touchdown. He wouldn't
get 18 carries, I don't think.
I mean, he's gotten 13 and 14 in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. That's the RB1.
17. See, I disagree.
They're not gonna give a running back 20 carries.
They want a workhorse back. Ronald Jones was supposed to be that guy. He's what he was a first round pick, right?
If they stop using Peyton Barber, I think it's a different situation. But
if they stop using Peyton Barber
completely,
okay,
then yeah, sure.
I was gonna say, like, how much do I have to pull out of you?
I own Ronald Jones in like pretty much every one of my leagues, and
I got you. Yeah, Ronald Jones owned in 42%.
How is he only owned in 42%?
I can't believe that. I mean, he wasn't owned in our league this week, so this would probably be the week that he would get picked up. I picked him up, I think, a couple days ago before Sunday started. But outside of that, there's really nothing. I think the highest scoring waiver wire guy that I saw was like 12 points. So
yeah,
it's not like there was a guy out there to take.
In our league, there's a few guys, and at this point in the season too, just check your leagues too, because we're going off average numbers.
Yeah,
but I'm sure in the league that you're in, there's one or two guys that's owned in like 60-70% of leagues and is not available is available in your league. So you should definitely keep on the eye also for that.
This is something that you should also probably do is every single Wednesday look to see who people dropped.
Yeah.
That's probably
that came back to bite me in one of my leagues.
That's what I'm finding is I'm spending a lot of extra fob on those players as opposed to somebody that is like breakout guy. So always keep an eye on that.
Yeah. I'm in just like a NFL manager league.
Yeah.
And a PPR league, and the past week I didn't check what you said. I didn't check Wednesday.
Yeah.
I think I checked like Friday, because it's just like a casual league I'm in.
Yeah.
And somebody dropped Joe Mixon because he had two bad weeks in a row, and somebody just dropped him. And then somebody else picked him up Friday.
People
but I had lost
stupid.
that week. I would have had the top. I had the top waiver priority.
Yeah.
I could have got Joe Mixon if I just checked Wednesday.
Yeah, always pay attention. There's no other guys out there. I would note just the handcuffs. If you have Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison, you have Zeke, Tony Pollard. If you have Todd Gurley, probably get Malcolm Brown.
Yeah.
that one kind of is gross. But
do you start getting handcuffs at this point?
Say it again.
Do you start getting handcuffs at this point?
I mean, I usually like to wait until after like week 7 or 8.
I would wait usually,
but then I'm having like this paralyzing fear that somebody gets hurt, and then I'm like, somebody puts up $150 bid on stupid handcuff, and I'm screwed out of a player. Who bid on in our league? Wayne Gallman. Who bid? What was the price
80,
on him?
Something like $80 or something like that.
That is so gross for Wayne Gallman. He did have a good week this week, but like,
Barkley will probably be back in like a month though. So it's not like.
Any wide receivers that you're looking at in particular? Golden Tate, obviously. We'll just throw him off to the side. He's got 49% ownership right now.
If you don't own Golden Tate in your league, what are you doing?
Yeah.
There really aren't like that many receivers. I know I joked about Corey Davis, but I still wouldn't pick him up. Honestly, and this is coming from a big Corey Davis guy.
Now, I did want to bring this one name up because I do believe I just got to check to see how many leagues he's owned in. So 54% in Yahoo, 70% ESPN. I'll throw it out there because he's owned in probably like 60-70% of leagues, but he might be out there. It's worth a look. Courtland Sutton has been playing very well this year.
He fits what Joe Flacco likes to do so much.
Yeah.
He's the Joe Flacco guy.
Who was that guy that played for the Baltimore Ravens years ago?
Torrey Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does similar to that.
He's going to be highly efficient. Probably like 15.
Is Courtland Sutton worth like a week-to-week potential start at this point?
I wouldn't start him yet, depending on your roster. Like if you're desperate for a wide receiver, I would take a look at Courtland Sutton. Like if you picked up or you have Emmanuel Sanders, I would actually probably rather have Courtland Sutton than Emmanuel Sanders.
And even if like people are scared, like they're 0-4, so the chance of like them benching Joe Flacco and putting in Drew Lock.
Yep.
Drew Lock is actually plays a similar style to Joe
Drew
Flacco,
Lock plays,
but he likes the long ball, right? That's kind of his thing.
Yeah,
He's a big arm quarterback. So I mean, he would still also fit with Courtland Sutton. So he's available, and NFL.com. He's available in 60% of leagues. So
it's probably like he's owned, but take a look, because if he's not owned in your league, you could probably steal him. So I would definitely. How much fob would you use to get him?
I'd say it depends on how much you have, but just generically like around 15.
Yeah, I might spend
15 to 20. You going
20
higher?
to 25 maybe.
Ooh, okay.
Depending. I mean, I would say he's probably going to finish a wide receiver 2 this year. It might be a low end, but he's on pace for 128 targets. So if he's on pace for 128 targets, you probably want to get that on your team. Geronimo Allison owned in 25% of leagues. The Allison Marquez Valdez Scantling argument right now is out the wazoo.
If Devontae Adams misses this week, Geronimo Allison.
I would take Geronimo Allison. Yeah, but it's like, is it going to be Marquez Valdez Scantling or is it going to be Geronimo Allison?
Yeah,
that's the question that you have to ask.
It switches from week to week. So,
while he's still out there, owned in 26% of leagues, it's a gross pickup. And he started out as one of the most promising wide receivers, and he kind of fell down. But Dante Pettis is somebody you should probably, if he's available, I think it's worth taking a flyer on him for now. I mean, their passing offense has not been that great either.
No.
The 49ers. So,
the problem too is I think Garoppolo's been passing the ball around a lot too. Like a lot of guys are getting a lot of targets type thing. He's spreading it out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Pettis' ceiling is.
Right.
But I think he could be worth a pickup.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with the waiver wire, what it is this week, he could be one of the top guys.
He had a touchdown with 20 yards on 5 targets against Pittsburgh in week 3, and then he had a bye week this week.
And he wasn't really used in week 1.
No.
I remember that. And I think he had 0 targets in week 2. I don't know if he just got 0 targets because he got 0 targets.
It sounds like I don't understand how that coaching staff went from wanting to use Dante Pettis to like completely just.
It was remember the good. If you hear good in training camp, it's good, or it's whatever.
Yeah, right.
But if you hear bad, it's usually bad.
Yeah, he had some bad training camp.
That was Dante Pettis. Yeah,
some bad training camp hype. There's no one else the only guy that I would really possibly take a look at is Deontay Johnson, maybe, but that would be it depends on a lot of variables.
He's owned in like half the leagues, so he's probably still owned in your league. But if he's not,
Deontay Johnson?
No, I'm going to a different player. This player is owned in like half the leagues. But if he's not owned, do you take a flyer on Corey Davis?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Well,
okay.
This is the other variable. AJ Brown is literally playing like Corey Davis was supposed to play in the NFL. I would rather have AJ Brown than Corey Davis at this point.
I wouldn't.
See, you say that, but Corey Davis has been a garbage. I don't want either.
One's a rookie.
But AJ Brown,
long term for the rest of the season,
I would rather have AJ Brown. Sorry, not sorry. That's gross, but it's true. AJ Brown has had 2 games with 20 plus fantasy points. They clearly want to throw it to him more than Corey Davis.
No, they don't.
All right.
AJ Brown had 3 targets last week.
All right.
He caught all 3 of his targets for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns.
And he's clearly being more efficient than Corey Davis.
2 of his 3. Corey Davis had 5 catches on 6 targets.
I don't want either Tennessee Titans.
I don't want either, but dude,
wide receiver, but yeah, I don't want. I had Corey Davis. I drafted him in like the 14th round. He's absolute trash. He's not worth having on your fantasy team. If you have him, drop him. If you want, but I feel like AJ Brown, he's a rookie. He's probably going to get targeted more.
No, he's not. He hasn't been all year.
I know you say that, but it's 4 games, and here's the thing. Here's the thing you don't.
Corey Davis is going to get targeted more. That's a fact.
Here's the thing that you don't understand with AJ Brown is that as the season goes along, rookie wide receivers that people drafted in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd round, right, guys that they invested in. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what round AJ Brown was drafted in, but guys they invested a pick in. It's beginning of the season. It's going to take some time to get them. It's like I got to earn my role. Of course, Corey Davis is going to get targeted more. It's because he's the veteran wide receiver. But if AJ Brown is more efficient, halfway through the season, they're going to start shifting the targets more to AJ Brown. For me, you're not going to start Corey Davis.
No.
Never. So I would rather take a quantitative...
I'm never starting AJ Brown either.
No, I'm not. But this is what I'm saying, is that if you're picking up a guy that you're not going to start...
I can't follow you on this one.
Hold on. If you're going to pick up a guy that you're not going to start, I would rather go with a guy who has a higher ceiling. And AJ Brown, to be honest with you, AJ Brown's probably never going to hit your lineup, and Corey Davis is never going to hit your lineup. But for the last 4 seasons, Corey Davis has never hit your lineup. He's been a guy who just consistently underperforms. AJ Brown has had 2 wide receiver weeks in 4 weeks of the NFL season this year. So it's I would rather have that than Corey Davis, who is just not... He shows so many flashes of being good, but it's he just doesn't perform in that Tennessee Titans offense.
You can thank Marcus Mariota for that.
He's like, you can thank Mariota.
You know, it's funny. It's if you have A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and Derrick Henry in your offense, you should be pretty good quarterback, shouldn't you?
Yeah, he really should.
To think how much he's underperformed is like just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he's been...
I mean, you said he had 2 wide receiver 1 finishes?
Yeah, I thought he had a 20-point week in week 1.
He had 11. Then he had 4. Then he had 0. And then this past week he had 22 off 2 touchdowns.
I just feel like
catches.
I feel like Corey Davis has that one good game every once in a while.
No, he does. You're right about Corey
I'm just
Davis.
saying I'm going to go with the young talent that might overtake Corey Davis midway through the season than Corey Davis, who's been a guy that we've expected to come out and people have been truthing on for so long and just hasn't performed. That's kind of where I'm at. But I don't want either, so it's a relevant argument. Let's just talk about some tight ends. We talked about Chris Herndon last week. It looks like some people picked him up.
Yes.
He went from being like 4% owned to 12.
I think he's still, only 12%. I'd actually pick him up if you need tight end.
Yeah, I feel like he's a steal at this point.
With Sam Darnold coming back?
Yeah. Are you looking at any other tight end at this point?
No, not really.
It's so disgusting.
Do you pick up Jimmy Graham? I think if
I feel like people are going to pick Jimmy Graham up and then expect him to perform after he scored a touchdown last week. He's so touchdown dependent.
He is.
And he does have connection with Aaron Rodgers. But
if Devontae Adams is out, is he worth a pickup?
He might be.
I think he
at least for a week. Who do they play this
Dallas. Week? It's not a good matchup.
Hold on, let me look. I want to see how many fantasy points they've given up to tight ends.
Well, it wasn't a lot this week.
Dallas has given up the 13 most fantasy points to tight ends this year.
So it's like an average matchup for tight ends.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd do that. If you have Chris Herndon out there, I would do.
Yeah, I would rather Chris Herndon too than Jimmy Graham right now.
Yeah. This week is such a crap week on the waiver wire. It's unbelievable.
I mean, honestly, it has been since week 2, and that's how it is.
There have been a lot of really decent pickups.
There's always one guy that's out there that you're like, oh, that's pretty good. But weeks 1 and 2 are the big weeks.
Yeah.
For waiver wire pickups.
So let's talk about some QB streamers. I'll give you my QB streamer.
Okay.
Rick can tell you anybody that he thinks is going to be out there. But this is where I'm honestly starting to believe, unless you drafted Mahomes.
Yeah.
You should probably just stream quarterbacks at this point.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I've realized really quickly.
Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I guess. What did he do this week?
I think it was 20. It wasn't like great, but it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's some quarterbacks that do it on a week. There are some quarterbacks who can do it on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
But I think if you stick with one quarterback, you always get that one game that's going to be like 15 fantasy points and you lose your matchup, like because your quarterback didn't perform at a 20 to 25 point pace. And it's like, I think the problem with sticking with one quarterback, unless it's like a top 3 guy, the rest of the season, is that I ran into this week. I thought Dak was going to be really good. He had 30, 30, 30, and then this week he puts up 7. And it's like, it's not good for your fantasy team when you stick with a quarterback and then that quarterback puts up a burger. I'm going to lose this week probably because Dak Prescott completely blows. Like, he just did terrible against New Orleans, and that was a good matchup. And it's like sometimes that's going to happen. That's why I think streaming quarterbacks is probably a more effective option. You know, find the guy that's going to be – he has the best matchup, and he probably is going to perform well. So my first QB streamer is Jacoby Brissett against Kansas City. Kansas City, this is going to be a high-scoring game, I think. I would think that they're at least going to push the score on Indy. And Indy's going to have to respond. Right. So if Jacoby Brissett's been relatively decent at the start of the year, I think if Matt Stafford can put up, a 25 fantasy point game against Kansas City, I think that Jacoby Brissett can easily put a 25 fantasy point game up. So I would pick up and stream Jacoby Brissett this week against Kansas City. It is in Kansas City, which makes me a little bit nervous.
That does affect it a little bit, but I think Brissett, honestly, the way he's been playing this year too, I think that's a good pickup.
Right.
He's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year, I believe. I want to double check that actually before I go out there.
I think he was like 9, but I could be wrong.
He is currently ranked in the 9th among quarterbacks. So top 10 quarterback this year, and in a good matchup, top 10 fantasy quarterback. To me, he's going to get 20 points this week. And if you're streaming guys, Like 20 points is all you need. I mean, honestly, the way that quarterbacks have been going this year, you played Russell Wilson this week, you played Tom Brady, you played Dak Prescott, you played Deshaun Watson. Those are 4 quarterbacks that are started in most leagues.
Daniel Jones.
All got under. If you include Daniel Jones, that's 5.
I had faced Daniel Jones this week.
All those quarterbacks got 15 and under.
Wow.
If you can get 20 points out of a streaming quarterback, which you can every single week. Every single week we give you guys that can get 20 points. And they do. The way
that I kind of calculated is that if you get 20 to 20, let's just say you average right around like 25 fantasy points on every streaming week, and you get that guaranteed on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah.
You do that for 16 games. You get a quarterback who scores 400 fantasy points. So your streaming quarterback option could
top
work
5 fantasy quarterback.
Yeah, no, that's number 1.
You probably won't get 25 every week. But
you won't get 25 every week. But if you get 20 to 25 on a weekly basis, you're basically getting a top 3 quarterback performance, and you don't need to stick with one quarterback or waste your time trading for one.
Right.
So who's the second guy?
We got Andy Dalton, number 2. I think Andy Dalton home against Arizona should be a good matchup. They've been throwing the ball a lot this year. They have struggled as a team, but home against a good matchup, it's a good streaming option. And he's owned in a lot of leagues too.
Definitely. That'll do it for our waiver wire ads and streaming options episode of Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to listen tomorrow as we discuss booms and busts from week 4 and go over players you should buy and sell for week 5.
Yes.
I almost said week 6. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Don't forget to check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Talk to you tomorrow. Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFChamps.